Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday and welcome to Tachy Talks. I said good morning, but it might not be morning when you're listening to it. So just happy Thursday in general, whatever time of day it is. As you can see, we have a guest with us. Hi, Braden. Thank you for joining us today. I'll give you a little intro and then we can jump into our usual spiel of what we did the past week because people say they like our banter. So we like to give the crowd what they want. So Braden, thank you for joining us again today. He, very interesting person, very accomplished person. He completed an undergrad at the University of Waterloo in biochemistry with a biotechnology specialization, and then went on to complete a PhD in organic chemistry at the University of Waterloo. And he's now a first-year medical student at Schulich Windsor campus. Another fun fact about Braden, we have a class council called Hippocratic Council, and Braden was actually just elected president of Hippocratic Council, and he'll be the first president in at least the last 10 years to come from the Windsor campus. So here he is, advocating for Windsor campus, representing us, making us proud. And we're so happy to have him on today to talk about the transition from PhD to MD.
Congratulations again. Sorry, I don't think I ever said congrats. That's awesome. I was so excited.
We all were very excited. And the council's like majority Windsor members this year, which is very unusual. So it should be an exciting year.
It makes our class look bad because like the class underneath us are like so accomplished. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting here like watching YouTube videos all day.
It's fine, Advait. We're proud of you too.
Thank you. That's all I needed.
To introduce my two pals, if you're not familiar with them, you should be. Go back and listen to I think we have 20 episodes now, so listen to all 20 of them. But these are my pals, Advait and Kylie, and I am Haley. And why don't we kick it off? What, Advait, did you get up to this week?
Okay, so this has been a super unproductive week, as every week, but the NBA All-Star game happened last weekend. I was watching that. That was pretty fun.
That's what I was expecting. I was like, I haven't heard about basketball yet. That's going to be the first
Is that what
thing
you're
coming
expecting?
up. Yep.
NBA All-Star game. It was just, I don't know if you guys watched it at all or like know anything about it, but it was just straight up like 3-pointers left and right. It was kind of disappointing, not going to lie. So my day was wasted doing that. And apparently, listen, I'm kind of embarrassed about this, but like, I don't know what's going on about like this whole Oprah thing. Or
you should be embarrassed.
That's embarrassing.
I don't know anything about what's going on with that. So that was happening the same time as the basketball game. And then I went on like an online forum to read what people were saying about the basketball game, but everyone's just talking about that interview and I was completely lost. So
I'm actually on Advait's side of this one. No idea what's happening.
Yeah. So I got to do more research on that. I'm like, what is going on? Why is Oprah like interviewing princes and like princess?
Do you know that Prince Harry and Meghan, I guess Meghan Markle, have left the royal family? Do you know that much? Oh no. My goodness. Okay,
I'm gonna do the royal family because the royal family is bad. I don't want to say too much on here because they did kill Princess Diana, so they might kill me too. But
that is a theory. We do not. This is a theory. Just putting a disclaimer out there.
Disclaimer yet, so I can't say stuff like this.
Just saying. Cole's Notes version: Prince Harry Princess dies, and Charles's son married actress Meghan Markle of Suits fame. A lot of shit went. Oh, I guess a lot of crap went down.
Too bad.
It's a PG budget. And from there, they left the royal family for a whole lot of reasons. You should watch the interview or at least read the Cole's Notes versions. A lot of racism is one of the reasons. And now they're living in Los Angeles and they are not royals anymore.
I just know like somebody from the family was related to, or not related, but associated with Epstein.
Prince Andrew. That's his uncle, Prince Harry's uncle.
Like, why do you have this lineage memorized? Why?
Because
like, I don't understand.
My mom is obsessed with the royal family. So therefore I get all the knowledge because she tells me about this at the dinner table and she just tells me what she thinks.
My mom's also obsessed with the royal family.
I don't know. That's crazy. It's actually crazy that you know who's who. It's the same thing when somebody talks about the Kardashians. I keep forgetting who's related to who. And some people just straight up know everything. And I don't know. That's pretty impressive.
I'll educate you on this a little bit later.
Thank you.
What did you get up to this week, Kylie?
Okay. So I did 2 exciting things this week. We've had the opportunity to do some clinical learning. So we got to do some of that. Got to go back to the emergency room, which was fun. Which is great. But something else that I did this weekend that I haven't done in a really long time, and I'm so excited about it, is I sat on the couch all weekend and binge watched TV. Ginny and Georgia came out on Netflix. Great show. And me and my roommates sat on the couch all weekend. It was great. I have not felt that relaxed. I mean, I'm still kind of recovering from it. So I've been trying to work out, but I ate, like those powdered sugar donuts that you can get from the grocery store. Me and Katie, and Eleanor ate a bit, but Katie and I, for the most part, polished off the whole thing in a day.
Are you talking about the ones that look like they're sprinkled with cocaine?
Yeah, that's not appropriate at bait.
What do you mean? That's what it looks like.
Anyways, delicious donuts. But I did want to ask your guys' opinion. This is not really about what I did this week, but I was told this week that my beautiful vines that I have here behind me are the new Live, Laugh, Love. What are your thoughts? I think they're pretty cool. And I saw them before TikTok, or I had them before TikTok.
It's pretty accurate. I have I have like vines at my house that go from the top floor to the bottom floor. Like legit vines. Real? Yeah.
Like a green wall.
Yeah. Because I don't know what my parents love plants. So they've been growing these things out. And like it gets so long we have to trim it. Or else it would have been like going around my entire house. So
Kylie, do you want us to poll the listeners whether they think that you're basic or not?
Yes, actually, I would really like that. I need everyone's opinions on my. I think they're cool. I even have little twinkly lights. Now I'm gonna have to change them, but whatever.
You don't have to change them.
It looks good though. It's like cozy, It gives it a feel. It's a vibe. A vibe, yeah.
Thank you. All right, Haley, what'd you get up to?
Very exciting news in the life of Haley and Finnegan. I did receive Finnegan's exercise wheel this week. So if you follow me on my personal Instagram, you would have seen my picture of him running in it. It's basically a 4-foot diameter hamster wheel that my cat runs on. And it was quite expensive. Please don't look up how much money it was because I'm embarrassed, but very worth it. So great so far. It's been lovely. I also got the chance to hop into the ER with my pal Kylie. We did really good medicine over the weekend.
Haley was told she was a bit rusty, but that's okay. I'm a bit rusty too.
But then it's fine. We all are rusty at some point. Did I cry? I'll never tell. Other than that, I didn't get up to much, just studying, doing homework, running, because the weather is so nice now. We have March break next week, so gonna be chilling. And on to Braden, what did you get up to this week?
I did not watch any NBA. Sorry, Advait. I did not binge watch. What was the name of that show, Kylie?
Ginny and Georgia.
I did not binge watch that either. I actually fell upon a TikTok trend for this video game. It is a video game, horror video game, and if you're into horror movies at all, I highly recommend it. It's a good experience, for real.
What video game are we talking about here?
Little Nightmares 2. That's the name of the game.
Oh, Nightmares 2. It sounds familiar.
I would never be able to play a horror video game. I would simply pause the game and walk away from my TV screen. And never.
I had to do that a few times. I'm not gonna lie, but ultimately I always came back. I finished it. It's a pretty good game. Twist ending, but I won't say anything more.
I'm gonna have to tell my boyfriend's name is Nick. I'm gonna have to tell him about this because he's very into horror movies and video games, and maybe this can distract him from the fact that I won't watch horror movies with him. So
yeah, you play. Yeah, you just play a character with like a bag over their head, and you just walk around in the dark forest or the dark buildings and experience everything. And people jump out at you.
Oh, I don't like this.
They're ready to attack you.
I do not like this.
Braden, is this what you use to distract yourself from school? You need these scary games.
Yeah, kind of. Games in general. I don't know. I've been reliving my Pokemon youth as well.
Yeah, I respect that. I
just got a Nintendo Switch for my birthday. My brothers have one, so I know how to play it, but I wanted my own because I don't live with my parents. And but I strictly play Legend of Zelda. Only Legend of Zelda. I'm silly.
Yeah. I'm back into Clash of Clans. Does that count?
It counts. I mean, it does.
What's your town hall level?
Okay, hold on. Let me look it up. I played it a lot in undergrad. And then for some reason the other day I was like, let's start playing again. I think it's 10. This is very suspenseful. 9. Sorry, it's 9. Wish it was 10. That would have been cooler.
I've never played Clash of Clans, so I don't know if that's good or not, but
Yeah, how many are there?
yeah.
What does the number go up to?
I don't know. Nick's is a lot higher than mine. He was the one who made me start playing it, so I could give him troops. But that took me like 2 years of playing, I think, to get to that point. So, and I don't pay for like gems or like pay on the App Store. I do it all myself.
That's pathetic.
When I used to play, I think the highest was Town Hall 12. I'm not sure if they've gone beyond that yet, but that was 3 or 4 years ago. So
I'm doing pretty good. That's not bad.
You have a line of credit. You could pay. Come on, just do it.
No,
invest in stocks, and then use the money that you earn from your stocks to play Clash.
Oh my god. Okay, hold on. I need to talk about this, and we're going to talk about stocks, and then we'll get into the rest of the podcast.
Diamond hands.
Go. I'm interested. What's up?
No. You already know exactly what I'm going to say. This is Advaits and I unethical business plan.
Oh yes, they're what's it called? Insider trading plan? Yeah.
So what were we talking about? It was hats. No,
couches.
So I'm going to start a couch business, and then Advait. What was I going to do? What was I going to do?
You're going to launch it as an IPO, okay? You're going to launch it.
Yeah.
And the thought is, like, residency matching is getting so competitive that everybody in our class, I'm not going to say everybody, but a lot of people are going to go unmatched. Like, that's just the reality.
A lot?
It's not.
There's only 30 of us,
people are going to unmatch or, like, not match. And they need to buy couches to sit on and watch TV because what are they going to do at home, right? So the harder it gets to match into CARMs, the more couches are going to be sold because people are just going to be sitting at home. Therefore, there's going to be a big boom in the furniture industry. So we're going to start a furniture company. Kylie's going to drop an IPO. I'm going to buy most of the stocks. Okay.
Yep.
And we're going to hold on that, wait for it to go up, and boom, Wolf of Wall Street that.
We are the new
really thought this out.
We thought this out.
We have. Yeah. We have thought this out.
It's it's couches.
And I'm just going to sit and prepare for when I'm called into court to testify against them.
That works.
This was a low point that Advait and I had this previous week, but that is okay. We're back at it. Shall we move on?
We're getting way off track. Okay. Let's move on.
Our disclaimer.
Yes. Okay. So, fun fact, actually, I was asked to give a disclaimer for something else because apparently Katie really liked my disclaimers, but disclaimer, all the advice that we give to you today is our advice alone. We do not reflect the views of our institution. Braden is going to be talking about his PhD experience, but it's based on his personal experiences. Anything that he says does not guarantee you an admission to medical school. And again, we don't reflect the views of our institution. Take it away, Haley.
I got a question before we start, okay? This is a really important one. Braden,
what's up?
Rune crafting or agility? Which one?
You cut me deep. These are the two of the worst skills. Probably agility, but I'll be fair. I haven't played RuneScape for a long time. So.
Oh no! What happened? Your account's not gonna grind itself. What are you doing? This is like XP loss. You're not being efficient.
I know. I'm still technically a member, and I'm still having it drained from my account every month. But no, I haven't played in probably about 3 or 4 months.
That's okay, man. Don't worry.
I played RuneScape when I was like 13. I didn't know it was still a thing.
We all played when we were 13. It's
I
similar. A lot of people played when they were 13. It's just that the people who got really into it, it's so hard to quit. It's so hard. It becomes addicting. But yeah. All right, let's move on to the actual questions.
Back onto what we're actually talking about today. We did collect up some questions for Braden. And we'll start with the classic. Tell us about your journey to medicine.
Okay, let's get started. Yeah, so it is a long one. So I did my undergrad in biochem because I liked biology and chemistry in high school. And medicine was an idea during my undergrad, but after a pretty low average in my second year, I kind of put it out of my mind for a while. I actually learned to like organic chem, and I decided to do some grad work in organic chem. And about 2 years into that, I realized that life in an organic chemistry lab, it doesn't appeal to me for a lifelong career. And that's when I decided to revisit the idea of med school. Turns out my undergrad GPA was more competitive than I thought. And long story short, here I am.
So great. We love non-traditional applicants because there are so many of them out there and nobody realizes it, and they all come to the videos and they're like, I've been looking for this exactly. So it's so great that you're on today to talk about this, because I'm sure there are many PhD candidates looking to get into medicine.
Or even master's candidates too. That's a lot. Like PhD is crazy, but usually master's is more commonly seen, but it's still like grad school. So just goes to show that you can get into medicine after doing grad school or something. Why organic chemistry though? Like for your research? Because we have a lot of undergrads that watch our stuff, and I think it's kind of a known thing, or it's thought of that organic chemistry is kind of hard and challenging. So I guess what interested you in organic chemistry?
Funny you should say that. Of all my undergrad courses, organic chemistry was my lowest scoring one. It was actually one of the reasons why my GPA in second year wasn't that great. Why did I end up in organic chemistry? I actually started private tutoring organic chemistry just to help a friend out. And it was when I was private tutoring in my third year, I think, where I realized that it was actually funner than I thought. And then I spent my fourth year doing more upper year organic chemistry courses, and decided to do a research project. And then that research project with the same supervisor merged into a master's and then direct transfer to PhD.
That's awesome. I was thinking about this this morning. How did you stay motivated through all this and going into medical school and going to school? What are your tips? I need them.
That's a tough question. You'll probably hear me in more detail later. Actually, I'll just say it now. There was actually a period of time, 2 years, all of 2015, all of 2016, where not a single experiment that I tried in my lab. For 2 years, I went into work, tried a new experiment, got negative results, couldn't do anything with it. When I sat down to draft my thesis, I actually realized later that not a single experiment I did in 2015 or 2016 ended up in my thesis at the end of the day.
Wow.
That is rough, and that's no tips. There's no tips there on how to improve or how to stay motivated there, unfortunately. But luckily, I think my research started to turn around in 2017 or so, and I was able to finish about 2.5 years later. So how did I stay motivated? I don't know. I had a helpful support network. My wife at the time was my girlfriend / fiance. She was there for me every step of the way as well. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's so great.
That's the thing with organic chemistry. I see a lot. I also did research in organic chemistry, and similar to you, I found no results for like 3 years. Because in a lot of synthetic work, it's just high risk, high reward. You're trying to make a new compounds, and if they don't work, they don't work.
Absolutely. And
yeah,
your research can't progress if you don't have that compound made, right?
exactly. And sometimes like you straight up just can't make it because you're trying a new thing. That's the whole point of research, right? You're trying a new either mechanism to make it cheaper, or you're trying to make something that hasn't been made before. So I don't know. It's fun. I had a lot of fun doing organic chemistry, but oh man, it barely worked out for me.
Wait, so what I'm hearing here is that organic chemistry, high risk, high reward.
Absolutely.
This was your foundation of stocks and your behaviors in GameStop. This is the foundation for organic chem.
This is the foundation for it. Yeah, you're right. It is. It is.
Okay. Braden, how does med school compare to your PhD in terms of like workload, free time, difficulty? How do the two compare?
So in some ways they're similar, and they're similar in the sense that for both PhD and med school, there's always something you can be doing. So you can always, during your PhD, you can always be researching another journal article or planning another experiment. And in med school, you can always be reviewing anything you've learned last week or last month, and also reviewing your lectures for this week. There's always something you can do. So that's how they're similar. There also are major differences between the two. I like to think of my PhD a little bit like a maze where you don't really know where to go and where the exit is, and you're kind of just winding down paths and having dead ends and over and over again. Whereas med school is a lot more like an obstacle course where you kind of have a straight path ahead of you. You kind of have to jump through the hoops, but at the end of the day, you have a really good idea of what to expect next week, in a month, in a year. So that's probably the main difference between MD and PhD. As for difficulty, it's tough to say because they're just so different. So I did not like in my PhD, I wasn't too much of a fan of the lack of structure and sort of the not knowing what's going to happen in a week. You know, if your research is no good today, then you're up to the drawing board again tomorrow morning. However, some people do like that. So yeah, it's just kind of different, I would say, PhD versus MD in terms of difficulty. Free time is another tricky one. You're probably asking the wrong person because generally I don't like free time. I know that kind of sounds crazy. I tend to stack my schedule to the brim with extracurricular activities to the point where there is no more free time. And then I just plug through for the rest of the year. I would say it's probably similar. I would say probably it was harder to do my PhD in terms of free time than it was in med school. But it's the difference between an hour or two a week probably in terms of free time. So not that big of a deal.
Haley, and it's you and me. I don't like free time either. I just love to have something to do every hour of the day. So I understand that.
She says as she talks about how she just watched TV all weekend long.
Because this is why it was so exciting, because I never do that. But I didn't really have free time because I filled it with Ginny and Georgia. Anyways, sorry.
That's not free time. That's a chore. That's a job. Watching shows.
It was a chore.
So you've kind of already answered this. The next question was, did you always intend to go to medical school after graduate school? And you kind of said that you had given up the idea of medicine, but do you think it was always kind of in the back of your mind as something you might return to, or?
I don't think so. I think I went into my PhD to get into university education more than anything. And then it was after those 2 years of failed results over and over again where I decided, let's try this. So then I studied for the MCAT, wrote the MCAT, and yeah, here we are.
Just wondering, what if you didn't get into medicine when you applied? What would your next steps be? Would you apply again, or would you try to go for a different kind of job? Just wondering.
Yeah, I probably would have reapplied because you learn a bit about yourself in a research lab with repeated experience with failure. I learned that that is not quite the life for me. So I probably would have reapplied, and in the year off or the gap year, looked for some work in education or organic. That would have been my plan. Fortunately, that didn't happen.
We love not using backup plans. It's our favorite thing. And if you, what's my next story? I'm like skipping questions on our list here. What do you think the benefits of going to graduate school prior to entering medicine are?
I think you learn a bunch of important key skills. So I'll go back. I don't think that any particular subject that I learned or any knowledge that I learned in my PhD in organic chemistry is too valuable for a career in medicine, except for some soft skills. So one example of a soft skill is managing failure and uncertainty. It is a regular occurrence, I think, for any grad student that their experiments might not work. And yeah, like I mentioned, and as they mentioned, you kind of have to make a molecule in chemistry. If you can't make that molecule, you can't really do much. So the molecules that I was supposed to make were antibiotics related to daptomycin. Maybe you know that name, second years. Yeah, so that was the subject of my research, and they are challenging to make. You can Google them. They're pretty fun, challenging to make, and every time we would try to optimize a new reaction, we'd have 2 steps backward that we had to fix. And that can definitely be draining, and it's a skill that you learn to cope with that failure during a PhD. The second skill is more of also a general skill, is time management. So as a PhD student, you're expected to work in your lab for a minimum of 50 hours a week. You're also expected to read your own journal articles and do background research. You're a TA for undergrad courses. You take your own graduate level courses, and many grad students also work as private tutors on the side to pick up some extra cash. So you can quickly see how all the responsibilities add up, and you learn to keep a really organized schedule and calendar, get it all done in time.
I had no idea that I thought like with PhDs, most of it was you spend your time in the lab. No idea that you had to spend 50 hours a week there. And I knew about TAing a little bit, but that is lots and lots of work. So that's awesome that you powered through that, powered into med school. That is amazing. With that,
in hindsight, it was fun. During, not so much.
It's fun once you're out. During
yeah.
It's not.
It's just like, oh my God. Kind of along that line, what advice would you give to students in graduate school who are contemplating going to medicine, whether in their master's or their PhD?
I'd say go for it. It's med school has been great. I've enjoyed my time so far, and I'm very happy that I applied. Very happy here. A few specific tips that I'd give. The MCAT is hard, and the MCAT is important. And a lot of undergrads are able to take a term off, for example, to just to study for an entire summer. And grad students don't really have that opportunity. So you might not have much of a social life while you're prepping for the MCAT, in addition to all of the rest of your mandatory activities as a grad student. So that's one thing to watch out for, just to be mindful of the time commitment of that. The other specific thing, one of them is your supervisor or one of the members of your committee has to be one of your reference letters for the application cycle. So it's pretty important that both you, that your supervisor is aware of your plans and is supportive of your plans to go to school. And lastly, and this is probably the most important, you should probably pay attention to the dates listed on schools' application requirements. So if you apply as a PhD candidate or a master's candidate, most schools in Canada require you to finish your degree 2 months before you would start entry into the medical program. And it is very common for the schedules of PhDs to go longer than expected. So that would just be something that both you and your supervisor are 100% confident that you'll be finished by June 30th, I think is the date of the year that you'd be entering.
Yeah, those are really important things and like easy things to forget about too. And that's one of like the big questions that we get when people ask us, or at least I do when some people ask me like, hey, I didn't get into med school this year. I want to do a master's. Can I apply right away? Or like, what should I do? And I actually don't know what to say because I've never been in that position. So it's good that you brought that up. And then I have a few questions regarding the stuff that you just mentioned. So we'll start with the first question. It's about the MCAT. And like you said, in PhD, I guess you've been kind of out of undergrad for a bit. You didn't do basics like biology for a while, I'm guessing. So how did you approach studying for the MCAT, especially with all the research you had to do in the background, how busy you probably were?
So I actually had a bit of an advantage being in organic chemistry and as a TA in chemistry that for the chemistry section and the organic chemistry section, I didn't really have to review that much. So that was one nice advantage. I did do a lot of tutoring. So a lot of private tutoring, including first year biology courses. So I was kept up to date with a lot of the biology and chemistry ahead of time. However, cars and psych, that's a different story. And there were some dark days studying. So my schedule for about 3 months while doing my PhD is I'd work my PhD hours roughly from 8 to 6 every single day. And then from 6:30 to 11:30, I would spend the entire night studying for the MCAT. And those were weeknights. And then on weekends, I would be working on MCAT stuff from basically 9 to 9, both days, pretty solid. And it was not great. So social life suffered, I think, a little bit in that time. But at the end of the day, my logic was, I've got 3 months. I'm going to put in my best effort for 3 months, and then I'm going to hopefully crush the MCAT.
That's amazing, man. I needed you back then. We could have switched because I so bad at chemistry. Biology I was okay at because that was my undergrad, but I liked cars. But I needed you for chemistry. We could have used each other.
It is a good subject. I do like chemistry a lot still.
Orgo is tricky.
Yeah,
Orgo is so tricky.
Orgo can be tricky. Yeah, and that's the thing. Similar to Braden, I actually didn't study Orgo at all or chemistry at all for my MCAT. But I did like study physics and psych and whatnot, similar to what he's saying. Because when you do an Orgo undergrad, or at least when you take Orgo undergrad courses, they teach you way more than what's on the MCAT. So you can actually just logic out everything. But my second question actually was regarding getting your reference letter from your research supervisor. was it at all awkward to ask for a reference letter to go into medical school because you're doing a PhD and maybe he's expecting you to go into um, academics later or become a postdoc? Just wondering.
That's a good question.
I think I had a really good supervisor. He was a great supervisor. He was open, and we were able to discuss. And I remember the conversation where I asked him about the future and careers, and I told him about me in med school. We had a good conversation about he asked, "Are you sure this is what you really want to do? If you are, I'm completely supportive." And I think you make a great physician. He said that, which meant a lot to me at the time, because this was again during the 2-year period where none of my results worked and the PhD life wasn't so great. So we did have a conversation. It was difficult to get the conversation started. It was you're approaching a supervisor saying, "Hey, I don't think I'm interested in what I'm currently doing as a career. You have some advice, or can you help me out with something else?" And it was a tough conversation to have, for sure. But at the end of the day, my supervisor was really on board with it and positive. So I was really fortunate to have.
That's awesome.
That's great. We love a supportive supervisor.
Advait, do you have any more questions?
No, just those two. Thanks for answering those, Braden.
The Advait mini interview.
I know, Advait. He's pulling up all kinds of questions on you.
AMI.
So moving a little bit away from your PhD and more towards medical school now. Obviously, this year has been very, very strange for all of us. But Haley, Advait, and I had a little bit more of an advantage in that we did have some in-person school until March of last year. So we want to know, how has the pandemic affected your first year experience in medical school?
Yeah, so most of the listeners, I assume, are aware that for first years, everything has been online. Starting in the past couple of weeks, we've been having some clinical skills, and we're actually having an anatomy session this week. So that's in person, and I'm expecting that's going to be fun. So obviously, everything online, there's been reduced opportunity to get to know my friends in person and my classmates in person, which is unfortunate. And like many jobs, moving to the online platform, it's tougher to have a clear line between work life and home life. Because everything is just both at all times. So yeah, I mean, it's what you'd expect in an online platform for the most part. A pro, I don't want to just complain, but one advantage of having it online is that total commute time, 2 to 3 minutes, which is the amount of time it takes for my computer to turn on. So it saves a bit of time of commute to have everything online. It's kind of convenient that way.
That's awesome. Yeah.
If you ask Advait, he'll say one of the pros is that he can, well, actually, I was going to say he can do his modules at 2 a.m. when he's awake, but then I remember that he actually doesn't do modules.
I haven't touched a module for months.
He did the exact same thing last year. So Braden, for us last year, what happened is that we would go to class in the morning, just like you guys do on Zoom, and they would record everything for us. And then if we weren't able to make it to class that day, we would just go watch them later. I remember getting Snapchats from Advait at like 3 a.m. of him just sitting on his couch watching the modules back when he did modules.
Back when I did them, yeah.
He still does study. He's still a very smart guy. But yeah, what a time.
That's because I prefer ×2 speeding everything. So I'd rather just do it online, like once it's up, than go in person and listen to them slowly talk. And it's faster.
But then you don't get to see your friends.
I still saw you guys. I wouldn't not go to every lecture. It's just that
the ones you did go to,
you went to sleep.
Oh yeah, I
just remember.
There's so many pictures in our we have a class group chat. And they don't do it anymore, obviously, because we don't have in-person class, but they would always send pictures of each other whenever somebody was caught sleeping in class. And I think every week there'd be a picture of me for a solid month, just because I was sleeping so late, and I'd be sleeping during class.
Well, we also had class that started at 8 a.m., which was,
yeah.
I mean, as Braden was saying, the 2 to 3 minute commute time is great because you just hop on your computer, you roll out of bed. But when you had to get ready for school, go to school, watch lectures, I understand why you were tired. Hopefully, though, I really, really, really hope that next year things are, better for the entire world, of course, but that you guys get some more in-person learning as well, because it's hard. It is really hard. And being online and not being able to meet your friends and see them, med school's hard. So it's nice to have your pals around you. And I do appreciate the two, like, I don't know if they're below me on Advait's screen who's recording, but I do appreciate them. Just saying.
Thanks. I appreciate you too.
Okay, enough with the love session. But I am very curious, Braden. I have first question is, what has been your favorite block so far? And what are you looking forward to learning about? And then I have a follow-up question to that as well.
Sure. So actually, it is a bit of a surprise to me that my favorite block was a cardiology block. So I love the cardiology block, from ECGs, valvular diseases. I found everything fascinating. It is surprising, though, coming from a PhD in antibiotics and antibiotic synthesis. I kind of was expecting to like the infections block a bit more, which I did like, as much as cardiology.
That block gives me nightmares to this day.
Yeah. I mean, there was a slide on baptomycin that they presented with a PhD on the subject. It's
you could have taught that lecture.
It was a bit of a shame to know that the content on the slide was out of date. However, I didn't comment on it. So yeah, they use an old mechanism of action that's been disproven since, I don't know, mid 2010s, mid 2010s or something. Doesn't really matter.
Like 10 years ago.
The one thing that I was hopeful that they would show, daptomycin, something I learned about for 5 years. Oh, it's not correct.
You must have been sitting there being like, ah.
Do you like reading EKGs because they remind you of NMRs? Don't lie.
NMR, they do remind you a lot of NMRs. Absolutely.
They do.
I don't know if the fact that they remind me of NMRs makes me like them more. I don't know. I think I treat them like a puzzle. And then if you treat them like a puzzle, it's more of a game to play rather than
for sure, yeah,
your PhD career on the line because you can't analyze an NMR properly.
Which block are you looking forward to? So
yeah,
what do you think?
It is honestly, I don't know. I've enjoyed everything so far, and I don't know if there's a block I'm most looking forward to. It's a bit of a cop-out, but I think I'm just interested in clerkship most and getting into the hospital and putting this knowledge into action.
That's fair. I think that's
I can relate.
True for mostly everybody.
Yeah.
Clerkship is like the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. That's what I was saying before. Right now, it just feels like this strange form of senioritis, even though we're only halfway through medical school or in your first year of medical school. And just being on the computer all day, the Zoom fatigue is so real. So being able to go do the clinical learning, I definitely understand.
Let's go a bit further than clerkship. What about specialty? What specialty are you interested in?
I am so curious.
I don't know. I'm keeping my options open. I think I have a few that I'm leaning towards, and there's a few that I think I've ruled out, but everything is just a suspicion until you actually get the clerk. I think like most first year students, I might be leaning towards emergency, but everyone does. So I don't know. Internal medicine seems interesting. Anesthesiology seems interesting. Hopefully once things start opening up and OCLOs are more common, I'll get more firsthand experience with hospital learning.
Do you want to have a big, like a research component to your practice one day? Because you have a large background in doing research and having your PhD. What are your thoughts on that?
I like trying to figure out new things and trying to solve problems. I don't think I would want a career where a large percentage of my work is research, just based on my experience with my PhD. But I also think that having a challenge to overcome and trying to unravel a mystery and expand the scope of human knowledge is probably the most romantic way to talk about research. But that does sound appealing in general. In practice, during a PhD, not as fulfilling as it sounds. In hindsight, though, totally worth it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, and we're trying to figure out the same thing, but I think for sure having a bit, because you have so much expertise in it, having a bit coming along with you along the way, that would be really cool.
I also find that I did a fourth year thesis, obviously not even near the scale of what you did, but that's my little foray into research as a fourth year thesis. And I hated it until I was introduced in first year medicine to the idea of clinical research, like research with patients. And I think for people who end up in medical school, mostly want to be around other people and we want to be interacting with patients and helping them out. So I think clinical research ends up appealing to a lot of us a lot more than bench work, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and then we're going to switch up the topic a little bit again here. So you did mention that you're married, which is not something any of us have experienced yet. And we just wanted to know a little bit about how you balance your life and relationship. I know that's a lot of a lot of people worry going into medicine, like, oh, I'm not going to be able to have friends or family. I'm not going to have time for them. So how do you approach balancing that?
There's a couple of things. Great question. Thank you. There's a couple of things that I need to say. And one is in med school, I find that there's two types of work. There's one type of work where you kind of got to be focused and you can't really have that much distraction. Things like learning an asynchronous module for the first time, where you just kind of want to absorb everything as much as you can. And then there's other types of work where you can sort of do it with distractions on, like reviewing, making anchor cards if you're into that, replying to a lot of emails. So what I've been doing as best I can is while my wife is at work between the hours of like 8 and 5, that's when I do as much of the focus work that I can. And then during the evenings, I can putter along on my laptop. My wife also is able to take her work home with her. So in the evenings, we're basically just working together separately, TV on in the background. Lately, we've been watching Bates Motel. I'm not sure if you've heard of this. It's
Yep.
a bit of a thriller. Pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it is something that we talked about before the med school experience. It was something we were both worried about, and we kind of made some rules from the beginning, and they're kind of silly, but they are rules. No matter what, Friday night is going to be the night where we don't do any work and we just sort of enjoy as much time as we can. Last term in foundations, I did a lot of asynchronous work on the weekends, and I'm taking a step away from that this term to enjoy my weekends a bit more. So whether that's going to end up being take the weekend entirely off or take one day of the weekend entirely off, we'll see. I'm trying to find that balance still. But I definitely think that overall it is very manageable to keep up with all of the med school rigors and maintain a family life and a relationship. And like I said, from day one, she was really supportive through everything, through the MCAT and everything. So she's a keeper for sure.
Oh, that's lovely.
Oh, my heart. So nice. All right, Advait, I think you got some fun questions for Braden here.
All right, let's start off with a really important one, okay?
All right.
What are you picking? Charmander, Bulbasaur, or Squirtle?
Squirtle and Heartbeat, because the whole game is stacked for people who choose Squirtle, and you can get a good speed run if you water.
Wait, do you speed run it?
I try and finish as fast as I can. Absolutely. Do you try and catch them all? What are you? You can't.
I mean, like, listen, playing a game for fun and speedrunning are two completely different things. Speedrunning is like you're torturing yourself. You know how hard it is to get like that first Pokemon with the perfect stats and then just resetting the game constantly? I don't know. It's crazy.
I don't know if you're watching Haley's face, but she's like,
Do you guys know what speedrunning is?
No.
I'm going to extrapolate with my knowledge of the world and assume that it means completing the game as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. But like it's crazy in terms of the amount of times you got to retry.
You're talking to a guy who likes to play scary video games and watch scary TV shows for fun. So like maybe he enjoys a little bit of torture that comes with
and he also talking to Braden, he loves like the craziest challenges and puzzles. So I guess this is his thing. What about you guys? Do you guys know about Pokemon? What if you were to pick one? Haley,
all I know is that you need to catch them all. And I don't know, Pikachu is my favorite.
That's fair.
I always choose Squirtle in the first 3 when I used to play Pokemon, just for no reason other than I just liked him best.
Man, I never got to play Pokemon because I didn't have the Game Boy SP, was that? I don't know. And then my friend, I doubt he listens to this, but Zach, when I was a kid, he'd always bring it on the bus to school and he would let me play with it. So I didn't know how to play Pokemon.
Zach, you're a jerk. And if you are listening to this podcast, close it.
No, I mean, he has been a great friend lately, though. He helped me find a bike, so that was really nice. But Pokemons.
You know
anyway, sorry.
Funny in grade school, people used to bring their Game Boys to class, and then the teacher would confiscate it because they're playing during class or whatever. They didn't want to play it. It's funny because one time the teacher like took it from another kid, and while we're all working, she started playing on it. And then she's like, "Hey, like, what do you do over here? I'm stuck." And like, I don't know, it was the funniest thing ever because like usually the teachers just like put in their drawer, but no, she's just sitting there. We're all working. She's just playing on the Game Boy,
Oh my gosh.
ruining this kid's file too, because like she's playing on his save file. But
Oh my God.
You guys got in trouble for bringing in Game Boys. I had a classmate who lit a desk on fire.
what?
Nice.
I actually think I have the story that tops all ruining someone else's Pokemon stories. So a buddy of mine, first time I ever played Pokemon, in grade 6, he let me take his Game Boy and his Pokemon Crystal home for the weekend. And he told me, do not reset it. Do not reset it. So of course I reset it. First thing I did on Friday night.
Oh
Oh
no.
no.
He had a Pokedex that was like 95% complete, and he was really trying to catch them all, and they were all stored in his PC. And I erased all his data, and he never let me do it again.
Oh my
That's
God.
a friendship ended right there.
Yeah, that's a
a
test in resiliency.
Yeah, that's done.
So
Why
note
did
to
you
self,
reset it?
don't give Braden your Game Boys, I think. Because he will reset them on you, and then you will lose all your data.
Well, why did I reset it? It's because I wanted to do the Elite Four, right? I wanted to beat the Elite Four, but he already had teams that would crush the Elite Four. It wasn't even a challenge at that point. So I thought, well, no, this is silly. I want to start over at level 5, choose my fire starter, choose my water starter, and so I reset it, and he wasn't too happy when I gave it back to him on Monday. That was in the past. That was about 20 years ago.
Some dark times right there.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just picturing him like giving it to you and being like, don't reset it. And you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna reset it. I'm not gonna reset it. Get on the bus, reset. Like, it's great.
The most evil thing was if you just did it in front of him. Like, hey, look at this.
Reset.
All right,
Oh,
another
man.
Pokemon question. Okay, so
Oh my
what's
God.
your favorite Pokemon?
Oh, Lucario, probably Lucario.
Lucario?
Is it fighting steel type?
Yeah, he's
I
pretty
remember
cool.
when I was playing, was that the Pearl Platinum generation, I think? You get a Riolu, and then he was just taking out every single Pokemon that I was fighting. He ended up being my number 1, probably Lucario.
That's fair. That's fair. I'd probably go like Rayquaza. I don't know. I just think his design's cool.
Yeah, he actually reminds me of my one cat. The way Rayquaza's design is like mouth open reminds me of my cat when she's hissing. I can't unsee it.
That's pretty funny. You have your cat there?
There's one who's kind of just sitting.
A high pressure.
Aw.
Oh, so cute.
That one's Lucy, and Myson, named after Daptomycin, is sitting over there.
I love that.
You really love your Daptomycin, eh? You're just gonna prescribe it to everyone as a physician, even if they don't need it.
No, it's used for when vancomycin or methicillin don't do the trick. You gotta be stewardly with your antibiotics.
He knows
True.
about choosing wisely.
Wisely.
Choosing
Not
wisely, that's
new.
right.
Come on.
No antibiotic resistance here.
That's how you know he works in Canada, not America. If it was America, maybe give Daptomycin to everyone. That was
Oh my
just a
gosh.
joke, guys. Don't get mad. Come on.
Please don't cancel Advait.
Oh my goodness.
Well, Advait, unless you have any more Pokemon questions.
No, I'm done with the Pokemon questions. You guys have any questions?
No. Do you have any last words of advice for our listeners, Braden?
Last words of advice. You might feel during your PhD that times are really dark. I think it's pretty common for graduate students to feel the heat, not knowing when or if they're going to finish on time. However, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And while you're in your PhD, it's not that great of experience if you're struggling. However, after you're finished, you kind of forget about all of that. And in hindsight, it always is worth it in the end.
Great. So power through, everybody. You've got this.
You've got this.
Got this. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with us, Braden. It was lovely. I feel like we learned a lot of interesting things about you, including your love for scary video games, which I will never ever understand, but that's okay. It takes all types. And with
Thank you for having
that,
me.
yeah, no problem. With
Thanks
that,
for being on.
we will wrap it up. If you have any more questions for Braden, you can feel free to DM the Tachy Talks Instagram account. We're at Tachy Talks, and we will make sure we get an answer for you. And if you just want to chat with Advait, Kylie, or I, you can also DM Tachy Talks. Like we love to chat. Advait probably will not be the one responding to you.
No, I will respond. What do you mean? It's just that like I don't use Instagram often, so like I don't know when I'll check it, but I'll respond.
Let's be honest though. If anyone's responding to you, it's probably Haley. It is not you or me.
As soon as I see an Instagram message pop up, I have a need to answer it immediately. Yes, I can.
Anyways, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. This has been what, episode 20, 21?
21, I think.
21.
2021.
Thanks again,
and then
Braden.
Thanks again, Braden. Yeah.
And peace.
Peace.